What's going on, Wolfpack? Time again for another wolfofbricks.com update. I am Jim, and of course, this is where we talk about LEGO investing. All right, so the main topic of this video is 5 things that I did to become a better LEGO reseller. Now, I do have a bonus tip at the end of the video, so be sure to check that out. We're just going to dive into it. Number 1. Don't go out of your way to be nice. Now, this might be, a little bit hard for some people. And it's interesting reading the comments, and there's some forums where my name is brought up. Some people will say, hey, I'm the nicest guy. There's some people out there that say, I'm kind of I'm not going to repeat it, and that's fine. I don't get upset. That stuff doesn't mean anything or matter to me. But I want to share some examples whenever it comes to not being a pleaser, if you want to call it that. So, I take my job seriously when it comes to LEGO reselling. There were some times where I lived in Columbus, Ohio, and the spare bedroom was chock full of LEGO sets. There wasn't even a room for a bed anymore. And then eventually I got a lengthy email from a relative, and they voiced their opinion. They said that, that's something that they wish wasn't there, because whenever they come to visit, they don't want to have to pay for a hotel, which I understand that's reasonable. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with that, but my response was, I think you should join the Hilton Rewards program, because there's no chance that I'm going to stop what I'm doing so you could come up and see your grandchildren a couple times a year. Just the way it is. There have been some other times where, we've talked about the informational vampires. They're just wanting to try and suck stuff out of you, right? They keep on sucking and sucking and sucking. Well, there was this one time back whenever I was dealing with wholesalers at Barnes & Noble and things of that sort, where this other reseller, their Barnes & Noble wholesaler rep dried up. They just couldn't do any more deals anymore. And they said to me, hey, do you think I can have your contact info of your rep so I could talk to them? And I was like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. Number one, they've been sucking information out of me for years. Number two, I'm just not going to do that, because that could be a detriment to my business, right? And I understand that might be a little bit extreme. People will say, well, sure, Jim, that's obvious. But I've said this in the past. You should try and not be friends with people that are other resellers. This doesn't mean you can't have a good relationship with them, but just don't think, hey, they're your best buds. Eventually, that relationship may foster. Sometime next year, my family is going to visit another family, and they're a LEGO reseller. So those bonds happen, but you should not go out of your way and try and be a nice person when it comes to LEGO investing and reselling. Number 2, you need to level up your strategy. And what I mean by that is you only want to talk to smart people when it comes to LEGO reselling. Now, Jim, you said that whenever you build your network, you should have some junior people too. I agree. But just because you're talking to highly intelligent and highly capable people that are LEGO investing and reselling, I'm pretty comfortable with the network I have. But there's also some high caliber resellers that they're great people, and I'm sure they think the same of me. I wouldn't necessarily put them in my network. I would say they're more of an acquaintance, if anything like that. Now, there are some people that I really want to talk to and get to know them a little bit more, and I will reach out to them occasionally, and occasionally they'll reply back. And I don't want to say they'll brush me off, but there's 2 people in particular, if you're watching this, where I'm at the point where I'm just going to order them a dozen roses for Valentine's Day so they get the picture, and they're like, oh, Jim really wants to be my friend. So you need to level up your strategy. You need to make sure the people that you're talking to are not better than you, of course, but they're more capable, they're more successful than you, so you could go ahead and mirror what they are doing. Number 3, I'm not saying you want to do this all the time, because I definitely don't want to do this all the time, but you really want to push your limits to see how far you can go. I'll give you an example. There was one year where I knew I was going to do extremely well, and I said to myself, you know what, because I'm going to do extremely well, why don't I get 5 or 6 0% APR credit cards, right? And so that was a chore. At the truth be told, at the end, I think I had more around 8 or 9 credit cards because it just wasn't me, but it was other family members I coerced into opening up credit cards with. And it was a job. During that year, I said to myself, I'm not in the reselling business. I'm in the debt management business. So I had these Excel spreadsheets where every month I would go and I would put a green colored box for the months that were paid on time. All of them were paid on time, but I just wanted to visualize it, right? But even though I was successful at that, that was a lot more stressful than what I thought it was going to be. So I said to myself, you know what, maybe I'm just going to take a break from that. I'm not going to do that for a few more years. Number 4, use the proper tools. If you see someone demonstrate Keepa on a YouTube video, you may want to go ahead and do that. If you see, back whenever I used to demonstrate the FBA Multitool and you enjoyed that, you may want to say, you know what, that's something I need. A tool that I use religiously, and I did do this strictly for my business, but I now use it personally too, is Credit Karma. I'm about to plug Credit Karma, and I promise you I'm not an affiliate network with them. I actually tried, but there's no link in my description or anything like that. But let me tell you, that helps me out a lot because whenever I had all of those 0% APR credit cards, I think the last time I did that, my credit score was somewhere around 799. It actually wasn't somewhere around 799. It was 799. But whenever I applied for those credit cards and I maxed them out, that went from 799 to 550 like that. I had a lot of fraud people call me and I said, no, this is all legit. It is what it is. So using Credit Karma as a tool was able to help me get back to where I needed to be, and I could, have good credit again. I think right now my credit score, and I have no problem sharing this, by the way, I think my credit score is 660 right now, and that's because I utilize 0% credit cards, right? I'm trying to maximize what I'm doing. So I do use Credit Karma often, almost not daily, but weekly, and I see where my credit score is. At the beginning of the month, I definitely look to see where my credit score is because I'm aggressively paying off those credit cards. The 5th one is open up an LLC. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to people's strategy, I hear a lot of strategies, right? And even when they're not necessarily the best ideas, I don't tell them, hey, you are doing this wrong. I might encourage them to tweak this or tweak that. So, I don't like telling people what to do, but when it comes to getting an LLC, I highly encourage you to do this. You're just not serving you or your business well if you don't have an LLC. For me, the main reason why I love the LLC is because I pay less taxes. If I was a sole proprietor, I would be paying so many more taxes than I am as an LLC. When I was an LLC, guess what? When I was an LLC, I had a COVID disaster relief loan. It was a $10,000 loan for 30 years. I think my monthly payment is $30. I mean, that is easy peasy stuff, right? I know some people that made some serious money off of that paycheck protection, whatever, when it came to COVID. I mean, they made serious money. I'm not going to go into it, but they made a lot of money. So it does benefit you, and there are advantages to having an LLC. For me, I think it cost $125 to open up an LLC. 48 hours later, I got all those documents. You could do that yourself if you want to, but I just did the no hassle, peace of mind, just have someone else do it, and I'm good to go. And lastly, the bonus thing I did to become a better and a more successful reseller is I hired an accountant. I just didn't hire an accountant. I hired a good accountant, right? Let me give you an example of what a bad accountant is, right? A bad accountant is somebody that really doesn't care if you utilize all your tax deductions. So if you go up to a accountant and you said, listen, I have A, B, C, and D that I would like to use as a legitimate tax deduction, and they say something to you like, well, there's nothing wrong with paying taxes. Paying taxes is good. That means you're making money. Anytime someone says something like that to you, you may want to consider going ahead and getting rid of them. The accountant I have right now, I believe I pay around $200 a month. That does cover a 1 hour conversation a month that does cover a portal where you can upload documents and stuff like that. It also covers the end of the year tax return that they perform. And that's a reasonable price. I have at times paid $300. There was this gentleman, I love this guy. This was my main man. I paid him $300. His office was in Beverly Hills. He was a great guy. He told me things that other accountants just wouldn't even think about. But I did unfortunately have to part ways with him because he just wasn't answering my emails or my phone. Every time I talked to him, he was a great fellow, but he just wasn't meeting my standards. So I had to go ahead and part ways with him. But you need to hire a good accountant, and don't be afraid to fire your accountant if they're not doing what you think they should. That's it, my friends. Hope you enjoyed the 5 things I did to become a better LEGO reseller. Hope you are able to take something out of it. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Jim with wolfofbricks.com. Always go out there and get it.